Hello, my name is T.G. Trooper and my guest today is Rosie Sandler, the author of many books, some of them gardening themed murder stories. There's Seeds of Murder,
That's the first one.
Murder Takes Root, and Murder in Bloom. So, Rosie, thank you for coming along.
Thank you for having me.
So, why did you opt for the traditional publishing route rather than self-publishing?
Yes, I must admit, I think in many ways self-publishing would have been easier because it took me about 30 years to get an agent and a publisher. I really didn't want to have to do my own marketing. I didn't want to have, I'm not great with numbers, I think I have dyscalculia, so the idea of having an agent to handle my money and me not to have to think about it, and I thought that I'd probably make more money out of it long term if I published traditionally. So that was really what drove me, that I wanted it to be a living rather than a sideline.
And are you making a living at it?
I'm making a small living out of it,
Well, that's
yes.
good.
I think I'll be paying tax at the next tax statement just from my books. So
Yeah.
no, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It means I'm earning money. So
Keep all your receipts and add them off this
Yeah,
expense. I
yeah.
have to go to Tesco's this day to buy something for my writing.
well, yes, I think if it's food, you're not allowed to claim it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe that's only when you go on away on author trips. I went to the Harrogate Crime Writing Festival and I've been told that I should be able to use my hotel receipts from that, but not the food because you would be eating whether you were at home or away. So that makes sense.
That's fair enough.
A good tip from a friend.
So we sort of partially answered this question. How long did it take you to get your publisher? What was your process to get that?
This was quite interesting actually, and it's something that I use as an example of why you should take every opportunity. When I'm talking to unpublished authors who are trying to get there, I always say enter everything, go for everything, because you've no idea what will actually lead to something. I entered a competition by a literary agency called Tibor Jones, and the competition was called the Page Turner Prize, so a kind of pun on the Turner Prize. And you had to have a really good beginning of your book, and I got nowhere.
Right.
I think my earrings are making a little rattling noise. Does it matter?
I can't.
My cherries. And so I entered the competition, got nowhere, thought no more of it. And about 3 months later, Kevin Conroy Scott, who runs Tibor Jones, contacted me and said they'd really like my writing and would I consider being mentored by them. So I went in for a meeting and they wanted to run a scheme whereby they took unagented authors, teamed two up to write books. They would come up with the concept and you'd get a share of it. You wouldn't get as much as if you'd come up with the concept yourself, as if it was your own book, but they also paid us some money up front to do it. So they teamed me with another author and they gave us the concept of Agatha Audley. Shall I? So this is Agatha Audley. I don't know if I'm holding it in the right place. So these are kids' books aimed at probably 9 to 13 year olds about a girl detective who she is at a rather exclusive private school in London that she's there on scholarship. Her father is the gardener, the head gardener at Hyde Park. I get my parks mixed up even now. So if it turns out to be Regent Park, I apologise to everybody. And they gave us who her best friend was and stuff like that, but then we plotted it along with one of the agents at the agency and they managed to secure a 3-book deal with HarperCollins. So nice. These books are still in print. They're teachers' picks on Amazon, which is just lovely. To have written books that have made that much of an impact. Yeah. I've been into schools where the kids were really excited to meet the person who'd written these books that they love. So they've been a really special thing for me, but they didn't get me. I was hoping Tibor Jones might take me on, or I feel like the fact I'd done that helped me get an agent long term. It showed I could produce books, I could finish books. But yeah, they didn't lead directly to representation, but I'm still earning royalties from them and it's been quite a few years now, so that's really nice.
Oh, that's really good. So, actually we just answered that question.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
That's absolutely fine. It is a talking show. You were recently diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 55. What impact does that have on your writing?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I was explaining to you earlier that I sleep a lot, and it's very hard to know how much of that is the age I am. I'm perimenopausal. Most women would be post that by now, but unfortunately I'm still perimenopausal, and I don't know how much of my fatigue is that and how much is my overactive brain, because the ADHD is absolutely brilliant for having the ideas. Like you, I can have so many ideas sparking in my brain at once. It's not great for focus. So I will think today I'm going to write, but my brain will be foggy and won't let me write, and I'll spend the entire day in a fog, and maybe, having said the entire day, maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock I'll suddenly be able to write. But it's a bit of a shame because my husband, who works from home, will be finishing work about 5:30, and I've probably just got going. So it's not great from a social living with someone else perspective. It's stuff like that. But my mum did say to me, would you have the imagination and creativity that you have without the ADHD? And I don't think I would. So it's
They
definitely a
often go together,
double-edged
don't they?
sword. Yeah.
They do go together.
Yeah.
Have you got any books stored away that you're keeping back that have not been published?
So many books stored away. I paid for mentoring with the author Sophie Hannah, the best-selling author who wrote Poirot novels as well as her own. She was the first author allowed to write any Agatha Christie books, Agatha Christie books by the family after. So she's a very established author who knows the book trade inside out, and she was in Essex Book Festival. She came to Malden Library, which is one of my nearest libraries, and she talked about a scheme she was launching for authors, and she said you could be at any stage in your career. She was calling it the Dream Author Programme, because she said that in publishers' worlds, a dream author is one who doesn't kick up a fuss. But she wanted it to be about authors getting what they wanted, so authors following their dreams. So it was kind of play on this idea of the dream author. And so my aunt had very, very sweetly left me some money unexpectedly in her will, and I used some of that to pay to be on the first year of Sophie Anna's Dream Author Scheme. It was actually a 2-year programme, and she's amazing. She's so generous with her time and her advice. And I went to see her. I had a one-on-one at a residential thing that she ran in Yorkshire, and she said to me, "What do you want most from your writing?" She'd had excerpts from 2 of my books. She said, "There's no doubt that you write well," which was really nice, but that was the rejection I'd got over and over again from agents. "You write beautifully, but..." And she said to me, she basically said that I needed to write a book that it was very clear where it fitted in the market, that my book, and also that it should be less political. She said, come up with a Rosie Sandler who doesn't care that Boris Johnson is Prime Minister, as he was at the time. And write a book from this sort of apolitical standpoint, so maybe not so much of the homelessness and the drug addiction and the awful, So she said, come up with 3 synopses, send them to me, and we'll work out which one you're going to write. Well, I came up with 3 ideas, but I think I even came up with 3 synopses, but I sent her one, and I said, it was called The Gardener. I said, this is the one that's keeping me awake at night. And I'd envisaged it as the first in a series that would have almost different trades. I joked with a friend about it because the second one, I already had this idea for an estate agent that goes to value a property and finds a naked man chained up in one of the outbuildings.
That sounds like one of mine.
Yeah, well, it does sound like one of yours. I thought that. So I thought this was going to be a standalone novel. I wrote it as a standalone novel. I didn't write it as a murder mystery. It was a mystery of a gardener who goes to a gated community of exclusive houses, 5 exclusive houses, somewhere to the north of London. I created this community just on the outskirts of London, and Steph the gardener would gradually find out people's secrets, and so that when they started getting blackmail notes, they assumed they were coming from her because she was the person that they'd been confiding in, and she would have to defend herself from that. So, as I say, I didn't set out to write it as a murder mystery. There is a sort of murder mystery theme in it, but it's not what you think of as traditional who did it kind of murder mystery. And then my agent rang me just as I was getting in the shower. Oh, this is the book that got me two offers of representation by agents, which was phenomenal. Thank you, Sophie Hannah. Best advice ever. And then I went with Jenny Todd, who was just setting up her agency, and she's proven amazing. She came out from she'd been creative director or something like that at Penguin. She'd had really high up jobs on not the editorial side, on the business side, and that's been so good for me to have that person. She just handles everything to do with the business, and she's the best diplomat, and I can go to her about anything. She's wonderful. And she rang me as I was getting in the shower one day, and she said, I said to her, can I ring you back and get in the shower? She went, well, just answer one question. How would you feel about, one of the editors at a publishing house is going into a meeting and wants to know, would you consider writing a whole series of murder mysteries with your main character Steph as the main character? And I went, yes! She went, brilliant, bye then! And that's how it came about. So Jane Snellgrove at Embla Books, which was, it had only been going about a year at that point. It's a digital first imprint that's come out of Bonnier Books, a very big European publisher. I always thought it was Bonnier, but I've been corrected recently, it's Bonnier apparently. This was their first digital first imprint, and a little bit of me was sad that I wouldn't be in bookshops, but even that's not come out, that's not true, because I went into I contacted Chelmsford Waterstones and they bought them in, Malden Books has them in, so although they're print on demand, I've got quite a few bookshops that have very sweetly bought them, even though they don't get the same sale or return deal as they would normally get with books. They're taking a risk on them. And when I went into Chelmsford Waterstones, the manager had laid them out on the table next to Richard Osborne and Alexander McCall Smith, and I was there on this table next to all these really prestigious best-selling authors. And I said to him, oh no, you haven't sold any, I know you only ordered 5 in, I had to come in to sign them. He went, oh no, we sold those, this is the next batch. That was about a week later, so that was really nice.
That was good. So what do you want readers to take away from your books?
Yeah, I got asked this question by a book group, someone from a book group this was quite funny actually, I got asked at about 4 o'clock one day, I got a message from someone that I was fairly sure I didn't know, asking if I'd be free to join their book group online that evening, because they'd be talking about my book. And I was like, yeah, all right then. So it was 6 o'clock. I think she told me at 4 o'clock. What I didn't know was she hadn't told the people running the book group, who were the librarians from one of the Manchester libraries, a big library in Manchester. And they were a bit surprised. They let me in first when they saw the author's name come up on the on the video call. They went, we weren't expecting you. And they were leading the book group. Anyway, at the end, one of the members of the group asked me this question, what would I like people to take away? And I thought it was a beautiful question. And it's kind of what I would like people to take away. I try and build, despite the fact all of my books have murder in them, I'm trying to build a world of kindness where decent people support each other. And that's what I want people to come away with. I want people to come away feeling they've spent time with decent human beings.
Can't be better than that.
I hope it won't.
So the Gardener Mysteries, let's say.
That's right,
cool.
That's the series.
The cosy crime, what does that term mean to you?
Yeah, cosy crime is a really interesting one. I remember when I first got the book deal, I got a 3-book deal to start with and then a 2-book deal after that. And I talked to one of my sons, Robert, about it, and he said, I think it's cosy crime because people don't believe murder could happen to them. He said there's a lot of other things that you can write about and it can feel a bit threatening and too close to home, but murder, most people think that's never going to happen to them. I thought that was an interesting theory. My husband's theory is that people, and I do not fulfil this, he thinks with cosy crime, the reason that I keep getting pressured to have occasionally readers complain that my murders are a bit late on, and it's because I like to spend time with my characters and to give my readers that time, so I'm not following an exact flow chart of how each thing should happen. I also don't want to become generic. I don't want to be constantly writing the same plot. It's not interesting for me, and it's definitely not interesting for my reader. So I want them to be a little bit surprised with each book, something a bit new, something a bit different. But my husband said if people have time to bond with the person who's murdered, that's much more distressing. He thinks in cosy crime, when you watch it on telly, there's always death in paradise. The murder happens in the first scene, then you get the theme tune. And he said, that's it, people haven't had time to bond with them, it's less distressing, it's more remote, which I thought was also interesting. So it's something that I think is really up for debate. Some people have written analyses of what cosy crime is, and it shouldn't have swear words. Well, if my character's going to swear, they'll swear. I occasionally put, he swore loudly if I think the word I'd like to use might upset some people. But in book 1, I think it was, I did use various swear words that people have complained about.
You have to be true to what the character would say.
Absolutely, that's what I feel. And so I try and get a balance where I don't use, I'm using less swearing now in my books, but if I think they really need to swear, then they will swear. So I don't believe cosy crime has no swearing. And the CWA, the Crime Writers Association, for their, I think it's called the Whodunit Dagger, which is their cosy crime genre for the prizes that they've recently introduced. I did contact them because it said in the description, no swearing was one of the things, and I went, there's swearing in my books, and they said, no, that's fine. So you end up kind of going, well, what is cosy crime? What is it? But for me, it's taken me a long time to get to your answer.
That's fine.
For me, cosy crime has quirky, interesting characters and humour. And I think a lot of thrillers still have humour, and I think it's really helpful to help the reader cope with the darkness. Exactly. I mean, Shakespeare had his little humorous scenes, didn't he, with drunkards and things like that, for a bit of light relief. And in the same way, but not in the same way, I feel like cosy crime is more of the quirkiness and humour, and you definitely would not have the gritty darkness of serial killers and the rest of it. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure there are serial killers in cosy crime as well. But
serial closes.
Yes.
That's a whole new genre.
Cosy serial killers.
Your main character, Steph, has a big dog called Mouse, who often steals the show. Is he inspired by a real pet?
No, Mouse, my big dog Mouse, whom I love and who has got more fans, I think, than Steph, my main human character. All he is inspired by is the fact I do not have a pet. So all of what I would love in a pet, I plough into Mouse so that he is the best dog ever. He gets described as the wonder dog and super dog. He's, I didn't want to, I hope I've managed this. I think people who really hate stuff with pets in might occasionally get a bit annoyed. Someone asked me, would I consider writing one of the books without Mouse in? I went, no.
Central character.
People would be upset. I have people who only read the books for Mouse. So I suspect he may occasionally irritate some people, but most people love Mouse because he is enthusiastic, he's friends to cats and dogs, and he digs up clues quite literally in some cases.
So he's central to the whole theme of the stories. Yes,
he is.
Do you have any plans for any more adventures for Steph and Mouse?
Yes, so book 4 will be out next month, November the 21st, and that one is set in a fictional hotel in Yorkshire called The View, which has been recently updated from a kind of Misselthwaite Manor from the Secret Garden dark looming edifice into this amazing, they've put glass, they've used steel rods as supports to make the building more glass than anything else, so it's stunning and it makes the most of the moor views, but the garden needs updated to go with this new look, so Steph is brought in, and of course somebody dies while she's there, and the wrong person gets framed for it, so she has to get involved in that as well. And then book 5 is set in a fictional version of Silver End, the wonderful Essex village that you might know.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So I've changed elements about it because Silver End was built for the Crittall factory, the window factory for those who don't know, and I've turned it into a furniture factory. The family who set it up, I've forgotten their names, never mind, I'm not good with names. I'm not good with names to such an extent that when my editor took on the books and wrote to me saying she was really looking forward to working with Steph Williams, I said to my husband, I think Steph Williams must be one of the editors who I'm going to work with. And he went, no, Steph Williams is your main character. So that was a good one. That's how good I am with names. Even if my own characters, I sometimes think that my editor will think I'm not really writing them because she'll talk about characters in a latest draft and I'll be like, who was that again? Perhaps the dog you created. Oh, yeah.
So, you mentioned Waterstones. Where else can people buy your books?
So they can buy my books from Malden Books. The Red Lion Bookshop in Colchester was stocking them. I don't know if they still are. Waterstones Colchester might have them. I did talk to them and ask them if they would. I think that they can also buy them online.
Mm-hmm.
And the Indie Bookshop in Wivenhoe might have them, which is another wonderful Malden Books and Wivenhoe bookshop, and Red Lion are of course wonderful indie bookshops, so it's great to support them. But they can find them online. Waterstones online has them, Amazon has them. They can be bought as ebooks, and there's also an audio book narrated by Shazia Nichols, who is an actress, a TV actress, and probably stage actress. I haven't asked her as well, so I'm very lucky that they secured her to narrate my books.
Okay.
So the audio books, you can get them through Borrow Box for free. Most of the libraries, most areas have my books through Borrow Box for free if people have the Borrow Box app from the library.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Rosie.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
And, buy the books. They're very, very good.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you very much.